Hey, good evening, everyone. John Braddock with Mountain Wave Weather. Sorry it's a little bit late tonight, but it is what it is. Full-time job and stuff. It's about the only time I can get on, so I know it's a little bit late for everyone, but thanks for joining me either way. Down in the cave here, looking at weather stuff tonight. Got a lot of interesting model data coming in this evening about the storm. Again, they're models, so they tend to bounce here and there. Don't know exactly what they're going to do, but always something fun to look at. So what I'm going to do tonight, this is going to be pretty free flow, and it might be a review of some of the stuff you've seen on the articles that I've posted today, but just want to kind of give you an idea of what's going on and what we're seeing tonight and what we're kind of thinking as far as the storm. And it's looking like a decent sized thing. So here are your weather alerts for this evening for the Palmer Divide area. Everything in red is a blizzard warning. Everything in the pink is a winter storm warning. And basically the big differences there is everything in the red is a combination of snow and high winds that will make driving pretty nasty. You don't need a ton of snow for blizzard conditions, but it looks like we're going to get some decent snow out of it. Wind gusts up to 55, 60 miles an hour, not out of the question. So once this thing gets cranking, it's going to be relatively brutal out there. So, timing is still getting solidified a little bit, but basically by around noon-ish, early afternoon, lunchtime, that's when you want to be either getting off the road or be off the road by that point. Everything in the pink there is your winter storm warning, so less wind, but heavier snow. So you'll probably see your higher snowfall accumulations in those pink areas, especially western Douglas County and the foothills west of Denver. That's mainly what you want to be looking for. If we expand that out and we look at Colorado as a whole, you can see that blizzard warning is pretty much up into northeastern Colorado. I don't think they're going to get as much snow up in that area in terms of the accumulation. That'll be more along the Palmer Divide, but the wind and the snow combination in that red is going to make things really nasty. So really all of kind of northeastern Colorado and then along the Palmer Divide is going to be your ugly areas for travel and impacts tomorrow. Everything in pink, as you can see, is most of the mountains and the foothills west of Denver, ranging all the way down to the foothills west of Colorado Springs. Those are your heavier snowfall areas. Again, travel will be treacherous around there. Same timing, kind of around lunchtime or a little bit before. Higher elevations could see a change, to snow quicker. So that's one thing to keep in mind in the morning. And then as you look out across the plains, you've got winter weather advisories going into Kansas and Nebraska. Winter weather advisories off to the west. Winter weather advisories are, less snow, less wind, but still, difficult travel conditions. So look at your pinks and your reds as dangerous travel conditions, purples as difficult travel conditions. So on my website here, I've basically just picked out the blizzard warning and the winter storm warning and done a little bit more detail on them. And we're seeing some model data come in that might make these obsolete, but for right now I'm sticking to the forecast totals from earlier. 6 to 12 inches for most locations along the Palmer Divide. Some areas could see that higher 12 plus inches. If we see a trend in the model data that continues with tonight, we might be upping that. Northeastern plains look pretty good at 3 to 7. It might be a tad bit low depending where you are. If you're in Denver, you might see a little bit more than that. But really those winds, 45 to 55 miles an hour, and then heavy snowfall rates, 1 to 3 inches per hour is a pretty heavy snowfall rate. So there's the Denver stuff. And right now I'm sticking to this for the forecast total. It's gone up from earlier today, and depending on what happens with the models tonight, this may go up further. But basically, Denver 3 to 7 might be a little bit low, but I still like the 10 to 15 inch range in Evergreen, Littleton, and Parker 5 to 10. Again, depending on the model data tonight, might be a little low. 6 to 12 across the I-25 corridor into Douglas County and the Palmer Divide. 6 to 12 for Palmer Lake. And then you can see some of these totals out here getting a little bit less as we go further east. But again, we'll have to keep an eye on these because these may end up changing by earlier tomorrow morning. I highlighted this across the area for earlier today, but basically your highest impact area is going to be right here along the Palmer Divide. So that's one thing to keep an eye on if you've got travel up and down I-25 between Colorado Springs and Denver. Those areas are probably going to get hit the hardest as far as the the snowfall conditions, and then eventually the blizzard conditions afternoon, especially out across the eastern parts of the Palmer Divide. Even as you get further east here, you're not going to see as high snowfall totals, but that wind is going to make the snow drift around a lot and visibility is really poor. Heavy snowfall up in the mountains, especially right along the Continental Divide, could see up to 2 feet in some areas, so keep that in mind. Um, Notice the big hole over here over northeastern Colorado. Like I said, not as much snow possible there, but with these northerly wind type storms, we tend to see downsloping off the Cheyenne Ridge, and the Cheyenne Ridge is an elevated area of terrain between Fort Collins and Cheyenne, and then extending off to the east. So when you get downsloping, that tends to dry the air out, and you get less snow. These northerly winds will then continue south towards the Palmer Divide, and then you tend to see more of an impact, an upslope impact along the Palmer Divide. But as soon as you cross that and you get further south into Colorado Springs and points south and east, you see downslope again. So remember, downsloping, less snow, and upslope is more snow. So that's why we're looking for those areas right there as well. So, wrapping it all up with the National Weather Service here, here's a good look at where everything is. Here's a little bit of a summary as far as when we're expecting the worst of it. And again, these numbers may change a little bit. So, these are good for now, but expect maybe an update in the morning where we will be adjusting these. So this is the National Weather Service forecast, similar to ours, but not 100%. And then the travel impacts, they say Wednesday p.m. through Thursday a.m. I don't know if they mean Thursday morning through Friday morning or Thursday afternoon through Friday morning. It seems like we're not going to see a huge impact with travel tonight, and maybe even early tomorrow morning. So, travel Thursday afternoon to Friday a.m. probably best to avoid it if you can. And then one thing I noted down here as well, National Weather Service is watching out for the ag folks, and so am I. But hopefully you're getting your preparations completed tonight. You don't want to wait till tomorrow, or you could wait till tomorrow, but as things move in the morning, it's going to be pretty difficult to get the animals in the time frame. Once this hits, it's going to move pretty quick. So it's kind of calving season. You've got baby animals out there, and it's going to be very cold, very windy, and very snowy. So that's something to keep an eye out for if you're in the ag scene. So kind of short and sweet tonight. I had to move to YouTube, unfortunately, because Facebook is just not playing nice tonight. So I know that if you got comments or stuff, that might cut some of those off. But if you have any questions, be sure to post on Facebook or YouTube or website or anything like that. I do watch those pretty closely. And it looks like everything is pretty much on track tonight. I guess one thing I could show you all is what the NAM did tonight. And this is just coming in, so this is not a forecast, but this is what the NAM did tonight with snowfall totals. And I'll show you the difference here in a minute, but basically, as I wind this through here, we're going to look at total snowfall through this is about 9 a.m. Friday morning. And as you can see, it's bumped things up relatively well, to close to a foot in Castle Rock. Heavier snow in Denver, I mean, you're looking at, these areas in and around Denver, could see 10 to 20 inches if this model verifies. So I want to make it very clear, this is not a forecast. This is what one model is saying. So if you want to see what it looked like earlier today, let's go back and we'll see how it's jumped, jumped up pretty decently. So, this is earlier today's model run, 8 inches Castle Rock, 9.9 for Denver, and you can see that went up at least by a few inches for all these areas, but it really painted a good bullseye over the Denver Metro and the Palmer Divide. So that's something we're going to have to watch. Again, one model run doesn't make a forecast, and you have to understand how these things behave, but it's something we have to watch very closely as far as trends. I haven't looked at this model yet, but I'm going to while we're here. Let's take a look at what the high-res rapid refresh is saying. Again, one model, not a forecast, but as far as we can go out, yeah, so this one's still hanging around 8 inches in Castle Rock, a lot less for Denver, a lot less for these areas. So you've got some model divergence there where they're not quite in agreement. Thing with the HRR is this ran a few hours ago, and we're not quite in range yet where we can see it running every hour. So um, still got some pretty good snow across here, and it just doesn't go out far enough where we can get a good range of the total snowfall. This is at about 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. As you can see, it's already got 7 inches on the ground, so something we have to watch out for, something that's going to be interesting. Overall, this is going to be an interesting storm. I don't know if it's going to end up being like a bomb cyclone like we saw last year, but if the model trends continue, it could be close. It could be something similar where you just have that high wind, lots of snow, roads could close. National Weather Service said watch out for power outages and things like that. But this one scoots out of the area pretty quickly Friday morning. So whereas our bomb cyclone kind of lingered for a while and just made things miserable for a long period of time, this thing is going to scoot out of here pretty quick. So improving conditions by Friday afternoon and Friday evening. So if roads do get shut or whatever, give the plows time and they'll get it open. I suspect, given world events right now, we're going to see a lot less traffic, which is going to make the road crews have a little bit easier time with getting some of that done. So um, hopefully, um, hopefully everyone has a good night. I got a couple questions in here, but when's the highest snowfall rates in and around Castle Rock or Denver as a whole? Castle Rock, really between that 12 and 6 p.m. is the window they're pinpointing for the heavier snowfall. Again, that's going to depend on when the cold air gets in here. If it comes in a little bit earlier, you could see 10 or 11. If it comes in a little bit later, you could see 2 or 3. But right now, generally between 12 and 6 is the heaviest snowfall for a lot of areas. And when it comes down, 1 to 3 inches per hour is a pretty heavy snowfall rate. So there's a lot of kind of interesting variables tomorrow because it doesn't start off that cold. So roads will not initially be that bad in the morning, but as you move into the afternoon, especially when it gets windy, that's where you really zap that heat and that energy out of the roads. And with that heavy snowfall, you can see things change very, very, very quickly. So something to keep in mind. Um, for those of you that joined me late this evening, thanks for joining me. I'm going to kind of sign off and get to bed so I can be up early to watch more of this stuff. But expect probably one more update early in the morning tomorrow. I'll kind of lay out what we've seen with the models overnight and if everything's still on track and what to expect. But I think from a impact standpoint, not a lot of that's going to change. You guys know what to expect. You know what to be prepared for. The timing may shift a little bit based on the cold air and the warm air thing, but just be ready for a miserable travel time after about lunchtime tomorrow. Um, Keep an eye on the forecast tomorrow in case that shifts a little bit earlier or a little bit later, but those are what to expect. Expect the roads to be bad, expect really strong winds, especially east of I-25 going into Elbert County. Um, and just expect a lot of snow for a lot of areas. But again, just with that temperature, Denver concerns me a little bit, and then the lower elevations concern me because if it doesn't get that cold, you're going to see a lot of these snowfall totals bust low. But if it does get colder, you're going to see them bust high, especially in the higher elevations, Palmer Divide, so above 6,000 to 6,500 feet. So you know what's coming. You know it's going to be here. We're going to expect it to stay on track unless we see something fall apart in the morning, but our forecast confidence is getting relatively high. So anyway, any questions, post them on Facebook, website, or YouTube, and I'll be able to look at them and answer for you. Otherwise, have a great rest of your evening. Thank you for joining me, and we'll talk to you again later.